welcome to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast. I'm Paul Mackey. This week I'm working nights the beginning of the week, covering a vacation, so there was no live trivia for me this week. I've now appeared in 2 episodes of the Tangents podcast, 1 episode of Throwback Trivia Takedown, and have recorded an episode of Lockdown Trivia and an episode of Knowledge Quest podcast, but neither of those have been released yet. Upcoming, I'm planning to appear on at least 1 episode each of Skillet Brew and Frenemy Trivia. Meanwhile, I've looked at the outline that I have for a short story short enough to work in a Dog Days setting in December. I had remembered having issues in the 3rd act, and it turns out not to really have much of one yet. So I'm pivoting back to trivia, coming back into the Advent season, and I think I still have plenty of time to write a new quiz. But meanwhile, let's look at Seeing Things, Season 2, Episode 2, Looking Back, originally aired October 27th, 1982. That day of note. My source lists this date as the birth date of Patrick Fugit, who played William Miller in the film Almost Famous. In the box office for the survey period ending October 28th, 1982, as they do Friday through Thursday charts, number 5 was An Officer and a Gentleman in its 14th week of release. Number 4 was new entry Monsignor, starring Christopher Reeve. Number 3 was E.T. the Extraterrestrial in its 20th week, and the top 2 films were both new releases. Number 2, Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch, their attempt to transition into an anthology format, and the number 1 film was a little picture called First Blood. I don't have access to an issue of RPM, the Canadian music magazine I typically use for Canadian music charts for this week. Therefore, I'm looking at the Billboard issue for October 30th, 1982, which reports the Canadian singles according to the CBC that were reported on October 23rd, 1982. Number 5 was Hard to Say I'm Sorry by Chicago. Number 4 was Somebody's Baby by Jackson Browne. Number 3 was New World Man by Rush. Number 2, Jack and Diane by John Cougar, still without his actual last name Mellencamp. And number 1 was Down Under by Men at Work. The Billboard list doesn't list the Maple certified artists, but much like last week, the obvious Canadian entry was the song by Rush. So what's the episode about? At an all-class reunion for Louis' secondary school, Matthew Grayson, a wealthy alumnus, is there to dedicate the new pool that he helped fund. Louis tries to interview him for the Gazette and is rebuffed. Everyone gathered hears Louis call Grayson Ratface, which is what they called him back at school, but admittedly sounds kind of bad in present context. Later, Louis has a vision of Grayson falling in the pool and drowning. Louis rushes to the pool, but he's too late, and a bunch of witnesses see him in the pool with the victim. Louis is the prime suspect, and he works to figure out who the real killer is. Louis had seen his friend Doug having a heated conversation with Grayson's fiancée, so he talks to Doug. Doug's sister Janet had been Grayson's girlfriend at school. She dropped out to be a waitress up north to help support Grayson, who shunned her when she returned 6 months later, after which she killed herself. And Doug was trying to tell the new fiancé how Grayson was not a very nice guy. Later, when Louis mentions to Marge that Janet had gone away for 6 months, Marge said that Janet probably left town to have a baby. Louis works out that Mr. Floyd, his favorite teacher's son, is actually Grayson and Janet's son, and confronts Floyd, who admits all the details as Louis explains them. What made him see it? Initially, Louis has a vision of Grayson's drowning when he looks at the student council photo on the wall in the classroom. He has a more elaborate vision involving his old teacher Mr. Floyd being present at the drowning when he revisits the pool. And lastly, the full vision of Floyd pushing Grayson into a rail at poolside before he fell in and drowned came to Louis in bed, looking at the yearbook, when Marge had just said that Janet might have gone off to have a baby. And my favorite lines...
Listen, since I'm going to stay here anyway, what about accommodations upstairs, huh? What do you think?
No way.
Come on, we're adults.
Listen, Louis, this murder thing, it's just got me nervous.
Well, I'm nervous, too. When I'm nervous, I want to sleep with you.
Well, when I'm nervous, I don't want to sleep with you.
But you say I always make you nervous.
Gee, no wonder we got separated.
Who is? I'll note that Ratface Grayson was played by August Schellenberg, who is partly of Mohawk descent, and in his career played a large number of American Indian roles, including playing Sitting Bull 3 times, in 1973, 1996, and 2007. But this time, I want to look at Frank Adamson, who played Sergeant Brown and appeared in 32 episodes, the most outside of Louis Del Grande, Martha Gibson, and Janet Lane Green. Frank Adamson was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba in 1940 and has worked extensively in Canadian media, primarily on television. He began in the 60s working behind the scenes at the CBC, and he studied production at Ryerson Polytechnical Institute. He honed his craft in community theater during his off time. In the early 70s, he performed as Grendel off-Broadway in a rock opera of Beowulf. Prior to Seeing Things, Frank appeared in 4 episodes of long-running Canadian series The Beachcombers and in the movie Silence of the North. Alongside Seeing Things, he appeared in The Littlest Hobo, TV movies The Terry Fox Story and Perry Mason Returns, and the motion picture Mrs. Soffel. He has mainly worked as a character actor. Following Seeing Things, he's not listed as a series regular again, and he has frequently played cops and judges over the years. After Seeing Things ended in 1987, Frank could be seen in movies like Short Circuit 2, Dolores Claiborne, Edge of Madness, and Fear X. The bulk of his work has been on television, including what must be the Canadian actor's obligatory set of Christmas movies, Hallmark or otherwise. TV series roles include Mr. T Vehicle TNT, Friday the 13th the series, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Hitchhiker, Street Legal, and Corner Gas. Most recently, however, he has returned to his native Winnipeg and has started a company called My Story Productions. He is dedicated to preserving the life stories of seniors now that he is among their ranks himself. Some of the productions are simple ones. A senior and their family commission a film in which they tell their story for preservation while they're still alive. They are also in progress on one documentary on immigration to Canada by people who suffered various tribulations along the way, and another about Indigenous people who fought to become recognized Canadian citizens. Artifactoids. During the reunion sequence, the gathered alumni danced the bunny hop. The bunny hop is recognized as being created at Balboa High School in San Francisco in 1952. Traditionally, the dance is performed to the arrangement and recording by Ray Anthony's big band, also recorded in 1952. The single had Ray Anthony's Hokey Pokey on the B-side, and if you've danced to a recording of either song, it is likely the Ray Anthony version. It has been covered many times, including versions by the Applejacks and the Champs, and Duke Ellington recorded the Bunny Hop Mambo. From what I can hear in the background, it sounds like the Bunny Hop song by the notes that I could hear, but I couldn't tell if it was the Ray Anthony version or just a TV cover version of it. The dance itself is a variation on a conga line. Dancers hold onto the hips of the person in front of them in the line. They all tap twice with the left foot, twice with the right foot, hop once forward, once backward, then 3 times forward before repeating. So what worked for this episode? This episode had a lot going for it. Louis was directly involved in the case, for one thing. There were some nice interplays between key characters. Redfern and Marge seemed to be developing a more cordial relationship. Sergeant Brown seemed grumpy as usual, but he was not antagonistic during this episode. I liked the touch that the incidental music of this episode was all a play on 50s music tied into Louis' graduating year. I felt like they gave the answer to the mystery in smaller chunks, and I did not see all the connections until they revealed them, but it didn't feel like they were tricking me. What didn't work? I really didn't have any problems with this episode. I thought it all worked well with the main characters and guest cast. The story was good. Altogether, a solid episode of television. So next time we'll be Seeing Things, Season 2, Episode 3, Seeing Double. But up next on this podcast episode will be Press Gang Series 1, Episode 5, A Night In, after words from our not sponsors.
This is Polaroid's new Time Zero One-Step.
Pretty. Why is it black?
So you'll know it's the Time Zero One-Step. And here's the world's fastest developing color. You see it in seconds now, not minutes.
Look at that color. But why a Time Zero One-Step?
It comes with a pack of Time Zero Supercolor film in this made-for-each-other pack.
Certainly are made for each other.
Just like coffee and cream.
Rolls and Royce.
Or me and you.
Try ham and cheese.
Hey, buddy, take me to the best burger place in town. Somewhere that does a real meaty, tasty char-grilled burger.
Darling, this is Mr. Weinberger from Texas. He's joining us for dinner.
I wish you wouldn't keep doing this. Your prize burger, Mr. Weinberger.
That was every bit as good as the burgers back home. This place sure does take some beating.
And it also takes all major credit cards.
New prize burger from the Bird's Eye Steakhouse, the best grill in town.
The first spot there was a familiar voice to the podcast, James Garner pitching Polaroid cameras with Mariette Hartley. This ad was from 1981, contemporary to the Seeing Things episode. I'm assuming the CBC may have sold time to Polaroid. This was at least a year after the conclusion of the Rockford Files, but James Garner had already been making Polaroid commercials alongside Mariette Hartley for several years prior to this one. One source I looked at said they produced over 250 spots over the course of the campaign, enough that many people assumed that Hartley was his wife. They maintained a friendship, but Garner was married to his wife Lois from 1956 until he passed in 2014. Then shifting to the other end of the decade, there's a spot for Bird's Eye Steakhouse Burgers, in which a London cabbie picks up a man from Texas asking for the best burgers in town, and the cabbie takes him to his own home. It amused me that the Texan was played by Mac MacDonald, an American expat who has worked extensively in the UK whenever an authentic American is required. Sorry, Spike. I recognized him from his role as the ship's captain on Red Dwarf. So, now let's look at Press Gang Series 1, Episode 5, A Night In, originally aired February 13th, 1989. That day of note, the listed fact is kidnapped Belgian Premier Van den Boynance freed. I had to look it up because this sounded like bigger news by that statement. So, first off, it's a lifetime honorific premier, not the sitting Prime Minister of Belgium at the time. He had been kidnapped for ransom by a criminal gang a month earlier. The ransom demand was 30 million Belgian francs. He was released unharmed on this date after an undisclosed ransom amount was paid. The gang was subsequently apprehended. On the UK singles charts in Music Week, for the week ending February 18th, things mixed up a little bit with a couple new tracks to mention in the top 5. Number 5 was Love Train by Holly Johnson. Number 4 was The Living Years by Mike and the Mechanics. Number 3 came up from number 12 the previous week, Love Changes Everything by Michael Ball from the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical Aspects of Love. Number 2 was new on the chart that week, Belfast Child by Simple Minds. Continuing at number 1 was Something's Gotten Hold of My Heart by Mark Almond featuring Gene Pitney. Looking at the Billboard Modern Rock chart again this week, the week ending February 18th, it's barely different from the previous week. Number 5, Sweet Jane by the Cowboy Junkies. Number 4, The One Change Up, Elvis Costello coming up from number 13 with Veronica. Number 3, I'll Be You by The Replacements. Number 2, Stand by R.E.M. And number 1 again is Dirty Boulevard by Lou Reed. So a brief summary of the episode. Linda needs staff on a late shift, but barely anyone will do it due to one excuse or another. Tiddler, being the most junior member of the Junior Gazette, has to connive her way into taking Sarah's place. Spike didn't realize he needed an excuse ahead of time, and Kenny's aunt in the hospital was dead last time, making it a less convincing excuse this time. They wind up having all manner of interplay. Colin repeatedly drops in, first forgetting he was dressed in a bunny suit on his way to meet an important businessman, then discovering he's trapped in the bunny suit, then finally finding out the businessman was actually dead by crashing his memorial whilst dressed in a bunny suit. However, we do get some actual dark looks into Spike's life. Spike and Linda wind up having a competition eating with chopsticks before Linda leaves the room to deal with the emotional aftermath of breaking up with her boyfriend, and finally they get back to the work of publishing a paper. My favorite lines...
What's this?
Well, either it's a screwed up ball of yellow paper, or you've done something terrible to a canary.
All right, this category is called I Didn't Get It. Between the age of the show, the diction of the performers, the accents, and the lack of captions to read, there may be some times where I just don't get what they're saying. And this doesn't exactly fit into that category, but I also haven't had to use the category yet, so here it is. If you watch the episode, Spike does indeed, in fact, refer to young Tiddler as Tids, no matter what it sounded like. And also, they didn't work too hard on writing Spike as an American. Dexter's accent is already shaky, but they didn't transpose any of the terms to American ones, a screwed-up ball of paper instead of crumpled like we would say it in that quote that I just played, or rows instead of fights. I'd almost say that it was a surprise that Brit kids thought Spike was authentically American, but then how many folks over here thought James Marsters was authentically English playing a different Spike on Buffy? Who is Lee Ross, who plays Kenny Phillips? Lee Ross was born in Luton, Bedfordshire, in England in 1971, which means, unlike Dexter and Julia, he was still a teenager when he appeared on Press Gang. They were 22 and 20, but Lee was 18. Biographical info seems a bit thin. He attended Stockwood High School in Luton, presumably shortly before starting this show. He began acting in commercials and on stage, and his first starring role was as titular Dodger in the series Dodger, Bonzo, and the Rest, which was spun off from an episode of Dramarama in which he first appeared as Dodger. He followed up this two-series show with Press Gang. On film over the years, Lee has appeared in Secrets and Lies, The English Patient, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. On TV, after Press Gang, he's been in dozens of shows. He was a series regular on the later series of Playing the Field. He voiced Hawkbit in 3 series of Watership Down, did sketch comedy in 7 episodes of The Catherine Tate Show, and appeared in multiple episodes of both Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes. He was a regular on several series of EastEnders as Owen, and appeared in the Matt Smith Doctor Who episode The Curse of the Black Spot. And he appeared in various episodes of Midsummer Murders, Vera, and Professor T. Most recently, he appeared as Cloris in 8 episodes over 2 seasons of Star Wars Andor. Totally 80s. Tiddler's outfit was partly selected to be part of the gag with Spike saying they can pick those colors up by radar now, but it was not a far-fetched outfit as far as I can remember from 1989. I managed to find a screen grab with both Colin's bunny suit and Tiddler's outfit for the episode art, so you can spot it there. Artifactoids. As Spike enters the episode, he is narrating the actions of his feet, and his feet are clad in U.S. flag-themed Vans deck shoes. In 1966, brothers Paul and Jim Van Doren formed the Van Doren Rubber Company. They sold a pair of their original deck shoes for a price ranging between $2.49 to $4.99, and they manufactured the shoes and sold direct to the public. At age 13, young Mark Van Doren, Jim's son, designed a skateboard stencil of a skateboard with the word Vans, and the company began to use this logo on the heels of their skateboard shoes. In 1982, Vans slip-ons with a checkerboard style were introduced and featured in the film Fast Times at Ridgemont High on Sean Penn's feet as Spicoli. The company was met with a lot of counterfeiting of their product and was forced into bankruptcy protection in 1984. Eventually, the original family ownership ended in 1988 when the company sold to an investment group. In 1989, the U.S. government intervened and was able to aggressively pursue and eliminate a large amount of counterfeit product. This resulted in a surge of demand for authentic Vans, and in 1991, the company name was officially changed to Vans Incorporated. In 1995, the company put on its first Vans Warped Music Festival tour, which I incidentally saw in 1998 in Somerset, Wisconsin. Most recently, Vans appointed SZA as the official artistic director for the company. Now, I believe the style that Spike is wearing is called the Era design, officially style number 95. Style 95 was designed in 1976 in partnership with skateboarders Tony Alva and Stacy Peralta. I've tried looking into the original introduction date of the Stars and Stripes design Spike is wearing in this episode, and I haven't really been able to get any closer than being in the 80s, and during the original family ownership period. My best guess would be between 1986 and 1988, but I'd love to get more specific information if anyone knows. So what worked? I really enjoyed the pace shift in this episode. Rather than the usual frenetic, let's get the story or let's get this issue published, it was very much more a look at a subset of characters, mainly Spike and Linda. Spike gives details of his home life offhand, but they paint a pretty dark picture. This was still in the rewatch portion of the series for me, so I know what the show winds up being capable of. But I'm not sure if we'll ever see the senior Mr. Thompson depicted on screen. The way Spike talks about him, I can hardly imagine why a company in the UK would want to import his father to do any work. What didn't work? I hope the more serious headbutting between Spike and Linda is in this episode, because it wasn't all that fun. I enjoyed the light-hearted banter and occasional jabs, but in this episode it played too mean-spirited and it felt like they were just straight-up mad at each other. Sure, it's realistic, but it felt too heavy for light entertainment viewing. So next time is Press Gang, Series 1, Episode 6, Interface. Happy hunting! You have been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast, produced by Paul Mackey in association with Nimlas Studios. Any short clips of audio from shows is included under fair use for commentary purposes, and copyright for that content remains with its original copyright holders. The theme song is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by his generous permission. One Idjit's Thoughts is produced under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can find more episodes of this podcast and many other fine podcasts at nimlas.org. You can contact me by emailing idjitcastpodcast@gmail.com or commenting on episodes at nimlas.org.